Do you think all romances are the same? Well, they're not. They come in lots of different subgenres, and today I'm going to talk to you about 10 of them. Hi, I'm Krista Tomlinson, indie published romance author. Welcome to my channel where I discuss all things in the romance genre. Within the romance genre, there are lots of different subgenres. They can range from sci-fi to western to post-apocalypse. So why are there so many? That's because the taste of romance readers and writers can range all over the fiction map. We don't always like to read just one type of story, and there's lots of different types of writers and readers within romance. So you're going to have lots of different subgenres that people are interested in writing and reading. However, since romance always has to be the main part of the story, the subgenres that they belong to are always going to be kind of like the setting for the story, the background for the story. It's never going to be the main focus of the story. However, they can be range in focus or range in detail. So they might just be like a little bit of sprinkling of that subgenre on there. So for things like we like to call like a costume drama, where there's just a little bit in there, or it can be seriously in depth. But no matter how much of the subgenre setting is in there, the main focus of the story is always going to be the romance. If you take the romance out of the story, then the story is likely going to fall apart, not really feel complete, and the romance reader won't be satisfied. So we're going to go over 10 of those subgenres today. Okay, so for the subgenres, this is not a complete list and it's not in any type of order. Okay, so the first subgenre I'm going to start with are historicals. Now, historical romance novels are the ones that people who aren't romance readers probably most often tend to associate with romance. These were the romances that had the clinch covers, which basically meant the couple was locked in a torrid embrace, and they're probably on the back of a horse or on a prairie or something like that, making it look all, soft and dreamy and romantic. Those are the ones that most people, again, kind of associate with romances, especially if they're from an older generation. Now, for a long time, the settings that were really popular in those would be the medieval or the Middle Ages romances, where you have the knights and kings and ladies and things like that. A close cousin to those would be the Scottish Highland novels, where you had lots of lairds and ladies and everyone was wearing a kilt, which again is a very romanticized version of what the history was like during that time. And then also you have westerns, American westerns. In that situation, you would have lots of ranchers and cowboys and plucky lady ranchers and mail order brides and things like that. So that's the probably the most well-known subgenre of romance novels. Our second subgenre are Regency romances. Now, technically, these are historicals as well, but since they're such a large category and so popular, they're often listed on their own. With Regencies, these are most often going to be set in London during a particular time period, the early 1800s, and it's most often going to be involving the aristocracy, or at least one person is probably an aristocrat. Someone else might be like a highwayman to make it, exciting and daring or something like that. A lot of the heroes are dukes. So many dukes in Regency romances. It's an inside joke. Everybody likes to joke about how many dukes there are. And it's also going to be something where a lot of the plot involves, etiquette and who's going to have an arranged marriage and, she's been ruined and things like that. So if you like, that type of drama and you like etiquette and things like that, and if you enjoyed Bridgerton is a Regency based on a Regency romance series, then Regency romances will be a subgenre that you might enjoy reading. Subgenre number 3 are contemporary romances. Contemporary romances are currently the most popular and most written subgenre in romance. These are romances that have a modern day setting, so they'll often involve heroes such as, billionaires, or they might be set in a small town, or it might be, something involving maybe like rival chefs and stuff like that. So contemporary romances are basically just in a modern day setting. So if you enjoy stories and romance stories that don't have any kind of fantastical elements and aren't really history based, then contemporary romances might be a subgenre that you would like to try. Our fourth subgenre are paranormal romances. Paranormal romances are going to be romances that involve mythical creatures, so basically your werewolves or wolf shifters, vampires, fairies, dragons, all those kind of fantastical creatures. You can even have ghosts and angels. This subgenre really took off in the early 2000s with authors like J.R. Ward, Nalini Singh, and Cressley Cole, and it's been really popular ever since. So paranormal romances are really close to urban fantasy. There's just a little bit more focus on the romance between the main characters, and it's more likely to have each book in with the characters together, as opposed to urban fantasy where it might be played out over a few books before the couple actually gets together, if there is a couple. So if you like urban fantasy, or if you like reading stories or watching stories where there's lots of things like that going on, if you were a True Blood fan, then you might be really interested in reading paranormal romance. Subgenre number 5 is romantic suspense. These are what I like to call sexy thrillers. So in these stories, the couple might be on the run, or they're trying to solve a mystery, or the one of the characters might have be in danger. So you have the lover in peril trope. With this subgenre, you're also going to tend to have heroes who are going to be some sort of protector. So whether that's a bodyguard, or maybe a private investigator, or even a police officer, because they're trying to, again, there's normally some sort of crime or mystery they're trying to solve, or someone is in danger and they have to rescue them. So that's why you're going to have that type of hero in these romance novels. The covers are normally going to have them, maybe they're in an embrace, but they're also looking way to the side because they're trying to see the danger behind them. There's probably going to be a German Shepherd there if the guy's a cop. There's lots of dogs on covers of romantic suspense novels. But if you like reading mysteries, or if you like watching mysteries, if you're maybe a person who likes to watch Law and Order, then these might be the romance novels that you should give a try. Subgenre number 6 are sci-fi romances. So if you're a fan of Star Wars or Star Trek, if you like artificial intelligence or anything like that, then you might be a fan who would like to try and read a sci-fi romance. These romances can be set in space, they can be set on a distant planet, they can be set on our home planet, they can be set on a spaceship, they can have space pirates. They can have space pirates, they could have different aliens, anything like that in a sci-fi romance. A small little category within sci-fi romances that have become really popular lately are the kind of captive, alien captive bride romances. So you may have heard of one. It's down on one of these sides here, the Ice Planet Barbarian series, which is super popular as a sci-fi romance. So that's, again, a category, a subgenre that hasn't always been the most popular, but it's always been there. And if you like space and science fiction, then sci-fi romances are the ones that you should give a try. Our 7th subgenre are fantasy romances. Now, fantasy romances are ones that are gaining in popularity lately. And I can imagine that part of the popularity increase there probably has something to do with Game of Thrones. So if you were someone who really liked Game of Thrones but wished that it didn't end so tragically for just about everybody on the show, but you would like the court intrigue and the beautiful gowns, if you really like that, then you might want to go ahead and try fantasy romances. Those are ones that you can really find heavily on TikTok. If you're a fan of TikTok, then you'll see lots of readers and authors talking about fantasy romances. So there's lots of different ones out there for you to try. They may or may not involve dragons. It can just be more along the lines of court intrigue. It could involve fairies, and it can involve magicians and wizards. So basically anything that you would find in a regular fantasy story, you can also find in fantasy romance. But again, the main focus on the story is going to be the 2 characters, or 3 or 4 or 5 characters who are falling in love and end up together by the end. Subgenre number 8 are romantic comedies. These are going to be the type of stories that have probably most often going to be set in a modern day setting, and it's going to be, kind of really lighthearted and funny between the characters. They can also be steamy, so don't just assume they won't be steamy because of the lightheartedness between the characters. But they're going to have a lot of comedy to it. There's going to be a lot of maybe witty banter between the characters. There might be a funny pet involved or something like that. And when you think of the type of romantic comedy movies that you think of, you're going to get that same type of vibe from these romance novels. The 9th subgenre is one that I don't really have as much experience with. It's the inspirational or religious and faith subgenre. Since I haven't read any of those and I don't really know them as well, I'm just going to go ahead and read off what what Harlequin has listed for this subgenre. Discover wholesome, faith-filled stories that enrich the lives of readers. Meet characters who face challenges that strengthen their faith and lift their spirits. So basically with the faith-based or inspirational novels, you're going to have characters who are going to fall in love, and whatever trials and tribulation they're facing is going to involve their faith and involve strengthening their faith by the end of the story. They can have various settings, so they can be historicals, contemporary, and things like that. Some of the things that you won't see in an inspirational romance are profanity, lots of violence, strong violence, and also sexuality. So they do have attraction to each other, and they're going to have hand holding and cuddling, and then even maybe a kiss, but it's really going to end with that. It's going to fade to black or go to a closed door scenario where you won't see any actual sex scenes taken on the page. Our 10th and final subgenre are sports romances. These are romances for people who are jocks or like reading about jocks or like dating jocks, because basically at least one of the characters in the story is going to be an athlete. So it's going to be involve a team of some sort. Football romances are really popular, as are hockey romances. The other person might be an owner or, a fan, or it can be, two players on the same team, two players on opposing teams. But basically the sport's going to be the backdrop of the story, and you want to be careful with those, because when you have fans of a particular sport who are reading your romance novel, they're going to be real nitpicky about what you're including in the story. So you want to make sure if you're writing one of those to do your research. Can you guys hear my dog snoring? Okay, so that's 10 romance subgenres to kind of let you know what we've got going on in the genre over there, and to maybe help you find out where to start if you're interested in reading romance but you don't know what to go with. I've listed 10 of those genres for you, so you can kind of pick what you already like and find a romance within that genre. And if you're a writer and you're thinking about trying to write romances, now you know what the genres are out there for you to try. If you were curious about what my favorite subgenres are, I can go ahead and list them here. Those are my 10 favorites. Those are my favorites. But again, that's not permanent. It could change tomorrow if I were to read a really good book. It might make me kind of reach out and try to read as many books in that subgenre as possible. So that always changes, and it's changed over the years as well. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. It helps YouTube know to show this video to other people who have the same interests, and it makes me feel all warm and smushy inside, because it means that you like me, right? And who doesn't want to be liked? Also, if you would like to see more videos from me, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and then also turn on notifications so you'll be notified whenever I have a new video. If you would like to try some of my books, you can go to KristaTomlinson.com, where all of my books are listed, or you can go to Amazon as well, where most of my books are for sale, including my most recent release, Blood Kiss, which is a vampire mafia romance novel that I'm currently working on book 2 for. So thank you so much for watching. Bye! Subgenre number 5. Oh, I just forgot the name of it. Subgenre number 5 is romantic.